Coming up on Unpacked, the second chapter.
The first thing I'm noticing, the eye patch is gone.
My story now affects people more than it does me.
Are there things that you didn't share with us before about that night that you remembered now?
It did cause a little bit of tension within the family.
Have you considered suing the security company or even the complex?
I saw myself as lesser because I couldn't save my wife. Namangan, I'm a papaya. I even got dated for food. I know she knows.
Previously on Unpacked.
And then I proposed to her in front of dragons in the evening.
And she said yes.
And she said yes. We were just relaxing on our patio, and three guys just came up, pushed us into the house. And there was a guy with a gun against Numbuso's face. And just heard a loud bang. The paramedic looks at me and is like, Lwandi, your wife is in a critical state. Then the doctor explained, I'm sorry to say this to you, but you've lost your eye. One thing I can be very grateful for is that my daughter wasn't there. The most difficult part was actually seeing her box go down. It took me a while to actually get back on my feet. My main purpose is not to leave my daughter with nothing.
Welcome to another episode of second chapter of Unpacked, where we follow up with some of the guests that we've had on the show and see how they're doing and where they're at. Now, today's guest joined us in an episode that was titled, I Watched My Wife Die. And so many of you were touched by the story of Lwandi and how his wife was murdered right in front of him. And he himself received such a traumatic injury from the experience, but also a lot of trauma being a father, newly married, and now having to start life all over again. So Lwandi is with us today to tell us all about how life has been. Lwandi, welcome to it. How are you doing?
I'm good, Relebogile. I'm good. How are you?
I am good. And the first thing I'm noticing, the eye patch is gone.
Yeah, no, yeah, it was a bit of a process. I think with therapy, I realized that I just didn't want the attention of the eye patch. I just wanted to feel like a normal human being. And I'm normal, just that I don't have one eye. That's it.
Maybe you can share with us, because initially I understood the eye patch to possibly be there for medical reasons, to protect your socket or something. So was the eye patch always there more for covering and not having to deal with what had happened to you?
I think the eye patch, the main reason for the eye patch was, okay, I did have some surgeries after our episode.
Yes.
So like the first few surgeries were to take all the glass and the bullet fragments out. And then I had one cosmetic one where like they kind of made it look a little bit neater. But
Yes.
the main purpose of that was that for me to get a prosthetic eye.
Yes.
And I decided to not get a prosthetic eye because I thought, what's the point of hiding what had happened to me? I can just wear it and just move on with life. You know what I mean? If I get asked by people about what had happened, then I just get asked and I'll answer it. And I'm in a space now where talking about the experience isn't painful anymore. So I can answer people and I can talk to people and I can say it to them. Unfortunately, for other people, it does leave them with like a little bit of a dark cloud around them. But for me, it's literally like saying my name, like my full name.
So you mean a dark cloud in the sense that they ask out of curiosity what happened, and then when you tell them, they were not prepared for how hectic. They think maybe it's something that happened as a child. They're not aware that it's something that happened recently and was that violent.
Yeah, and I know, like, especially Black people, very sympathetic, and they'll want to be like, oh my gosh, are you okay? Are you fine? Or whatever. And it affects, my story now affects people more than it does me. You know,
Wow.
like the events of that day
Yeah.
affect the people more than I get affected. So yeah, it's easier for me to not wear the patch. Also, like I did realize that wearing the patch just brings more attention, and I had to tell the story over and over and over and over again. So now it's only people that are really close to me that will, like, if I've just met you and you've got the chance to talk to me, then you'll ask and then I'll tell you. But if I was at a supermarket and I had the patch on, they'll be like, "Oh, what happened?" You know.
You could just tell them you're a pirate.
I
Then
did
they'll
that.
leave you alone.
I did that with my daughter. I told her when she was still in nursery school. They're like,
Yes.
"Why does daddy?" She's like, "No, he's a pirate."
I love that for you. So what
Yeah.
did that patch then represent? And how did that moment come about when you said, I'm done with it?
So the patch represented not accepting everything that had happened, not accepting that this is my new life. This is who I am now. And there was a moment in therapy when my therapist said to me, "Do you understand that, like, we counted the amount of days that Nombusa and I had been together, and it was over 5,000 hours per day,
Wow.
like per year. Like it was a crazy number. It was a crazy number, but like it was like a very crazy number." And she's like, "Do you want to live the rest of your life hooked to those days, to those hours, to those months? Or do you want to be you now and have the rest of your life being something else and spend more hours, more days, more months and years just being yourself than you?" And that like clicked in. It kicked in and I was like, okay, cool. Like there's no need for me to wear this patch because this is who I am now.
Mm.
I didn't make myself like this, but this is who I am now. And I need to accept that, fine, I don't have an eye on the left side. I can see clearly on the right side, and I'm a full functioning human being. I'm not inhuman in a sense.
Yes.
Like I'm still a human being and I'm still good. I'm still a father. I'm still a friend. I'm still a brother, son. Like these are things that I still am besides what's happening on my face.
So let's talk about when the episode actually came out, because I know when we sat down to talk, the feelings were still extremely raw. I could feel your energy. I mean, the whole team, we came out of that interview like just so sad and traumatized. And mind you, this is secondary, just hearing about the story, not even being there. How was the response when the episode aired? But how did you feel actually watching yourself in that episode?
It was very tough to watch myself on screen talking about what happened. It was very tough. And I think there were parts of me that's like, oh, I didn't explain everything that happened. There was like so much more that happened on that night. And also it's like those memories come through in waves. So when I do remember some of those the moments from that night, things become a little bit clearer. And yeah, and it was weird. I think it did cause a little bit of tension within the family also.
Really?
Yeah, just because I think on my family's side they were like, we really didn't hear all of these things, and I think on Nombuso's family side they were. I did tell them that I was going to speak, but they also hadn't really heard everything from me because it wasn't something that like we really spoke about. We were just like,
Oh, as in like you shared details in the interview, bit by bit, talking us through what happened that you
yeah,
had not shared with them. So they were hearing for the first time on a
yeah,
TV show.
exactly.
But it's only now that I think about it, it makes sense to me in the sense that at what point would you ever feel comfortable to sit and tell your in-laws or your parents such details of such a sensitive issue?
So yeah, it literally was the first time that they heard every single bit of what I remembered from that night. I think they all knew the facts. Like, this happened, you went this way, and then that happened, and you ended up in hospital. But the deeper details, the family actually hadn't heard it before. So it was a bit hard, especially for my wife's uncles, because they were like her dads, and it was the first time I sat with my mother-in-law, and I told her everything, and she knew everything before I came to the show. But for the uncles, it was the first time that they felt it and heard it, and it was a bit rough. It was a bit rough. But one thing I can say is that the outpouring of messages, like, people found me on Facebook, people found me on Insta, and so much support, so much love, so much care and words of encouragement. And even now, I still go back whenever I'm feeling very low about myself. I'll go back to Facebook messages, and I'll go through these comments that people have said. I'll go through, like, I actually haven't gone back to the YouTube video, but I know there was a lot of comments, and I did say thank you to a few people, but mostly the Facebook messages and the people that have contacted me via Facebook or Instagram. Those are people that I was just like, oh my gosh, these stranger from Kenya, Namibia, a stranger from Nigeria, a stranger from Polokwane, like somewhere in Namakwaland, is like saying, you're doing okay, well done, and we're thinking of you, and we're praying for you. And that thing just keeps you going. Yeah. So it's been amazing to hear those kind of messages, to see those messages.
Like, you're touching my heart so much right now, because I think I and the team, we forget what the impact of the show is. And I think we'll never truly know what the impact of the show is until we catch up with our guests. And yes, we see comments from America, from all over the world. But the fact that it could do that for you, the fact that it could do that for them, that it touches people so much to reach out, like, that makes my heart so happy. And it just affirms what we're doing on this show. You mentioned that there are some things that, and it happens with trauma, where certain things get blocked out of your memory to protect you. And you mentioned that obviously on your healing journey and through therapy, maybe there's some things that you started to remember. Are there things that you didn't share with us before about that night that you remembered now? And it could have been details as little as remembering what her final words to you were, or remembering, because you are so high on adrenaline that night, trying to save your wife's life, trying to save your own life. It is completely understandable that details will disappear.
I think everything leading up to me being shot was detailed, and I think I expressed that. I think the one thing that popped up into like new memory was there was a point where I was on the stairs trying to get to the security guards, that I could hear my neighbor. I won't say her name, but like she was there, and her daughter, who was a friend of my daughter, they were the same age, and she was begging me to stay still and lie down and not move, and like she was just crying. I remember her crying, and I remember her daughter crying, because they also heard the gunshots and everything. But she was begging me to just stay down. So that was the one thing that I think it's like a new recurring memory. Even when I dream, I still remember her, and I remember her daughter and how they were screaming and trying to tell me not to move, But in my in my gut, I couldn't just sit still. I had to find a security guard. I had to find someone to help, But yeah, and then I think then there's the hospital stuff, which is some weird things like there's coming in and out of consciousness while people are busy with my body, busy with my head, busy like putting pipes into me, and those kind of moments in the hospital that are small little flashbacks that have come up over the years. Yeah.
Do you feel like when the memories come up again, you almost get new traumas to have to deal with? Because, I'm
think it's
thinking about your neighbor and the child crying, and then the awareness that, my gosh, how many other people were impacted?
No, I'm not there. I think the trauma of that night is there. It's in one space. And then the new memories that are coming up are more about, oh, that makes sense. Maybe my brain is just trying to piece things back together again. And that's okay. Like, it feels good to actually put those pieces, those fragments of moments that I didn't understand. And it's not to say that like those things are not traumatic. They are traumatic, but not traumatic for me right now.
I
It
got
really
you.
gives me a little bit of relief, like, oh, that's what happened. Oh, I got put onto a gurney. Oh, I got, that like those kind of things when they pop up, I'm like, oh, that's actually what happened. Because I think on the night, because as you're saying, adrenaline kicked in and things were happening. And there's a lot of black spots between the shooting and ending up in the hospital. And to have those things come back into memory, it's a little bit relieving.
Because it's completing the puzzle and connecting the dots.
Yeah.
I'm wondering how much of those memories coming up are relieving the feeling of I could have or should have done more. Are the pieces coming back together really making you fully aware that you were overpowered and there's nothing more you can do? I mean, the fact that your neighbor and the child were screaming to say, stop, like that, you continuing probably saved your life. You might have stopped and then lost a lot of blood or been found or,
I think for me, I worked a lot on in therapy. I worked a lot on the should have, could have, would have. And I think a lot of it I projected into other people. You know what I mean? Like maybe. So let me explain what I'm saying. So when I thought about all the should have, would have, could have, it did impact my self-esteem. I saw myself as lesser because I couldn't save my wife. I saw myself as lesser because I couldn't get attention to her in time. I had all these emotions and thoughts about myself, like and what I had in that situation and why didn't I do this and this and this and that. But once you go through therapy and you speak to someone and you actually realize like, listen, this is a little bit unfair to yourself. You're being unfair to yourself. Like people came into your house where you felt safe and they violated your safety. Then they physically assaulted you. Then they took your belongings. And then afterwards, they shot you. And not only that, they shot you without you being aggressive to them. So there was no need for them to shoot you. I wasn't attacking them. They attacked me. And then on top of that, they also shot my wife, who was probably just, passive in that point and trying to plead. And we both got shot. So why are you holding these things against yourself? Be fair to yourself. Be kind to yourself. So yeah, I'm learning a little bit more and more to be kind to myself, because there are times where I project my unkindness to other people.
Mm.
My unkindness to myself, I project that to other people, and I need to learn to be a little bit kinder to myself, then I'll be kinder to other people, because it still sticks, the fact that I couldn't do this, or I couldn't do that, I couldn't protect, and I couldn't help, and I couldn't fight off, and there's a residual. True, but the work now is trying to be kinder to myself.
Mm. Can you share with everybody watching why therapy is so important? Because we know what the statistics say, particularly around men from our Black communities, our very own family members that are sitting and living with devastating traumas that they possibly have been unable to process, and it manifests in different unhealthy ways. What did therapy do for you? And hopefully you can go into the details of why it doesn't need to be such a trauma, why you don't have to wait to be in the depths of depression and considering taking your own life to go to therapy.
Okay, so I'll answer this as a Black man. I'm saying that specifically because from the moment we're born, I'm an 80s baby.
Yes.
And there's certain traumas that we had from birth. The fact that you come home and from the hospital, and you don't have like the coziest of environments, that your parents have to work harder just to keep you alive. You're aware of that as a 2-year-old, as a 3-year-old, that like my mom is really hustling, and my life is not about me. It's about them, and it's about this. That's a little bit of a trauma. Then you also have, like, for me, I had like an abusive dad. And my parents' marriage falling apart also then impacted me, as in, like, am I not good enough for them to stay together? You know? And then there's all these other traumas that you grow up with, like your either from your friends, like, well, friends or people that you go to school with. So you get bullied, you get like low marks, and you get laughed at, and then you know what I mean, or you're not good at soccer, and then you get laughed at, and there's these things that just accumulate and accumulate and accumulate. You find your first love, and then your heart gets broken, and that can happen in like primary school or high school, and how you deal with that is like, who's feeding you that information? Are you getting it from your like someone who really cares about you? Or are you getting it from like a patriarchal kind of mindset who's going to tell you like, nah, this is how you treat women. Women must do this, and that. There's a lot of learning and unlearning that needs to happen, and that can only happen in therapy. And to the point where we get to a point where we are adults, and we are treated differently from our white counterparts, or not even just our white counterparts, but people with more money than you. And that eats away at your self-worth. It's harder for someone from a difficult background, what do you call it, like a disadvantaged background, to get like a really good, high-paying job. And then you see someone that you went to varsity with who's not on the same level as you mentally, and you know that. And you know that you got better grades than them in varsity, and then they get a better job than you. And it's either their class or their network, or, you know what I mean? Like, these things do impact you. So it's not just about the physical traumas that you go through, but there are other little small, you can call them micro traumas, but it's traumas that happen to you all the time that eat away at who you are as a human being, and where you are destined to be. And if you want to find out who you are and access your full identity, it's good to go and access therapy, because then those things that have been chipped away from you can be plastered over. And then you can be a full human being again. You know what I mean? So it doesn't have to be an extreme situation like mine. It can be that you've gone through so much in life, and just to speak to someone and to find solutions to those things that are affecting you day by day, it's worth it. It's worth it to go to therapy.
I think you've explained it so well, because I, as a woman, will never have the perspective of what the pressures are that sit on being a man. We can only have ideas and concepts, but to know what it feels like to live through that, I think you explained it so well. And what I love about therapy, being somebody who actively goes to therapy, I don't wait for terrible things to happen, is it offers, while the fear is, why should I talk to a stranger about my problems? A stranger who does not know you can be so objective on experiences that you have, that the people around you are also emotionally connected to. So there's something that they offer that your loved ones can never offer, which is objectivity. And especially like in the case of yourself and this trauma, everybody around you is also traumatized as a result of what happened to you. So it makes it difficult for somebody to be able to say, you know, switch, not so much switch off, but start a new life of you, when they themselves are still also possibly stuck back there. So thank you for explaining that. Not long actually after we shot the episode together, it must have been a year or so later, we actually ended up working together when I was doing a promo campaign for S3 or SABC3, where the show obviously had its home. And we got to see each other in a working environment. Was it weird for you working with me after you opened up to me so much? Because a lot of people say they feel like when I have the show, it's like a therapy session, which can make you feel quite vulnerable and open and exposed. But I'm curious as to what the working experience was like.
I think I was a little bit soft on you compared to everybody else. Yes. No, I was.
Firstly, I was amazing. Let's start there.
Yes. So you killed it. You're amazing. And I think as a director of that promo, I was just like, this person is coming through a little bit of special treatment, whatever. Because like now we have that connection, because you know me in a different way from everybody on set, you know. So yeah, I gave you a little bit of preferential treatment, but other than that, no, I think we're still professionals. We still did our job, and I think we did a very good job. We got nominated for a Louis, so we did good. We did good.
I'll put a link down below so that you can check out the campaign that was done a while back, and it was with actors of the estate. They were also part of the campaign, and I thought it was beautiful. So I'll put a link down below for everybody to see it. Let's fast forward to you went through obviously a terrible time. You were back home with family. You then started going back to therapy. I want to know about the fatherhood journey and what happened in that period where obviously when you can't take care of yourself, you'll never be able to take care of anybody else. When did you start feeling like, okay, I'm a dad again? Like, when did you feel like, I'm a father again and I'm doing my best?
Can I correct a little bit of what you're saying there?
Yes.
When you can't take care of yourself, there's still a part of you that can take care of someone who you value more than yourself.
I like that.
And at that time when I was going through everything, I was like, yes, I started the therapy, and I mean, even Mjolo was something that I was trying to start, whatever. But parenting was always key to me. Like, I could not let my daughter feel like she's less just because her mom is not around. You know what I mean? So it does put pressure on to make sure that she feels loved all the time. There's certain things I had to realize I wasn't good at, you know, like hair. Like girls' hair. Because it's
a lot of work, eh?
Oh, like that girl's hair is hard, guys. So I tried on my own. I'd be okay. I'd give myself a 40% or South African 33%. But like
Opacite, basically. Opacite.
but I wasn't excellent. So then I'd have to rely on my sister, like to say, "Hi, Joe." Because I mean, like this side, like I'm not good at it. But then there's also the things of getting her involved in activities, like can she play some sports? Can we draw? Can we, like those are the things that are like building for her, and just my presence around her was enough. So me going through all of those things, I realized that like just me being around, me doing things with her is enough for her. She doesn't have to know about all the ugly stuff that's going on in my head. And I try to give her a positive day every day. So even now, when things are still tough, there are days that are really, really, really tough. Even on those days, she's greeted with a smile. She's given food. I don't know why 7-year-olds eat like 9 times a day, but she's eating all day, making snacks. We making this, we painting that. We're always busy. And then when I do have time alone, that's when I divorce myself from being a dad. And I just be me. But she never has to feel that.
Maybe then let me be more specific with what my question is and what I mean by you can't take care of someone else if you can't take care of yourself. And to say, if your cup is not full, you can't take care of somebody else at your best potential if you yourself are not at your best, if I'm going to now make it. So to ask the question again, because we know there are many people that are on autopilot taking care of other people. However, because their cups are empty, there's not as much to pour. So now that you're at a much better place, how would you say that has evolved? Because cooking the meals, putting the smile is one thing, but we know little children mirror everything going on the inside of us.
Yeah. I think, okay, now I understand what you're saying. I think there is a difficulty on those days, on those times when you don't value yourself. Getting out of bed is hard. Because if you feel like you're not worth this day, you are not worth this day, it's hard to get out of bed. And if you don't do the work, if you don't journal, if you don't spend time outside of the house with other people that can lift you up and surround yourself with really good people who can remind you of the greatness in you, you'll always be in that small space where you can't get out of bed and you can't do things, and I've been there a few times. A lot of times, let's say a few times. I've been there a lot of times where it's really just difficult to get out of bed and to just be a human being, You sit in bed and you're like, do I really have to go pee? Like, I don't want to get out. You know what I mean?
Look, just yesterday I was saying, asking somebody, my brother, because I don't think a person needs to go through what you went through to feel the overwhelmingness. And I asked him to say, especially because we both are parents, do you ever have days where you just sit in the car in the garage and you're just like, or you get to work, which I do, where I need 5 minutes to be like, are we doing this? Am I switching off my phone and disappearing? Should I drive to KZN into the ocean? And my brother said to me, sometimes he just goes to the drive-through or to the garage to buy an ice cream. And then he sits in the car to eat the ice cream and just be away from the house. So I love hearing what you're sharing, because that is such a real thing. People think because you got out of bed, you wanted to. There are many people that don't want to get out of bed. And it's that convincing yourself, like you say, where you have to actually talk yourself into it. And I think it's such a real thing to share. So maybe you can give us a tip, other than your daughter. What is the thing that does eventually get you out of bed when you don't feel like you are worth the day?
I am blessed with very namangan, I'm a papai, that won't let me be in a slump. I'm blessed for that. But it also comes from me reaching out. So I'll be like, I'll send a message like, show me, how are you? and they'll be like, yo, things are rough. How you doing? I'm like, west of the west.
Gosh.
And then they'll be like, okay, ngiyazwakala. And I'm like, don't come. Don't come. I'm just letting you know that I'm just in my bed. I'm just chilling. I'm just having a rough day. Won't Tracy be at the door? Be like, yo, bruh, let's go. Go.
Open.
I didn't wash. Why am I open the door? I didn't brush my teeth. She's like, open the door. Then I must brush my teeth. Then I must now go sit in the sun and chat. You know, I have friends who are just like, yeah, I get that you're depressed, but I miss you, so I'm coming. You know, and but it does take. I think a lot of it is me reaching out, and there's a lot of people that I haven't really spoken to, and some people like I just send memes to. Like I'll go into Instagram and I find like a nice reel and I'll see them, I'm thinking about them, and then at some point they'll just
That's a love language. Can I just put it out there?
yeah,
Sending memes and reels and TikToks is a love language.
exactly right. It's just I'm thinking about you and I think that this will be funny for you or informative for you, and then there'll be days when they're like, dude, you've been so quiet. What's happening? And then that reach out happens, and it's either a phone call or someone literally at my gate, like, listen, you need to get out of there, get out of your slump. And then there's also the point of, so I think one thing that people don't really talk about is, I'm saying this because I read a post about it, and it's called cognitive fatigue. And when you're thinking about everything that's going wrong in your life and everything that's going right in your life, and you're thinking about what can I do about this and about that, and you get so tired and so bogged down by it that it just makes you feel like you can't do anything. And you feel like you're paralyzed and you can't have a social life, and you know what I mean? Because there's so many things happening and you don't know if your finances can manage going out or doing this with your kid, or if you can just sit inside and just be quiet. You can't afford to be quiet as well. So there's like the cognitive fatigue that happens. And sometimes you just really need someone just to pull you out of it. It can either be a therapist, it can be a friend, it can be. My mom is very good at this. As a woman, open my curtains. Hey, you've been depressed enough. It's time to stop the depression. Something as forget. Can be future. Like, you know what I mean? She's on that vibe. And you do need to allow people just to love you the way that they can love you. And once you feel loved, you'll feel better. I think that's where I'm trying to get.
How are the parents and the in-laws doing? It's been a few years now, but you are always going to be connected to your in-laws because that's their grandchild that you are father to.
Me and Mama Zala, I love her so much. She's like, I think because she had Unomuso at like an early age. She was 16 when she had Unomuso. They never had a really mom-daughter relationship. They were like besties. They were friends. So I became friends with Nombuso's friend, who just happened to be her, you know. So now she's my friend. Like we connected that way. We're still good friends. I think my mom and my sister were very connected to Nombuso. And they're still healing like the things that they see on a daily basis with Uleletu. And I mean, it's hard when you see her eyes and they look exactly like Nombuso's eyes. And there's certain mannerisms and things that Uleletu does that are so Nombuso, you know? So it's a happy trigger. It's a trigger that brings in sadness, but it's also a beautiful trigger because it's like, oh, she lives in you still. And yeah, I think as a family, we're all healing and we all remember her, especially on those milestones, the big days. Her birthday, the days that like we did this and this and this and that. And she's at family gatherings, especially she's missed, you know. So the family still remembers her and we're all still healing. It's never going to be a thing that we stop healing from.
Does your daughter still remember her mother?
She doesn't. She doesn't. But I have so many videos that I show her. Like, this is your mom. I show her videos and pictures of her mom from pregnancy to after, like, when she was still a baby, like an infant, to her first birthday and all the other fun times that she had with her. And that's how she knows her mom. She knows her mom via the media that I captured of her.
I'm aware that the older she gets, it's going to be a lot more valuable to her, especially on big days like, you know, the day she gets married and other critical days in a young girl's life as she gets older. So I think it's beautiful that you do that. You mentioned that at some point you were open to Mjolo. Where are we with that?
Yeah. So sure, it's been a bit of a journey. I think it took me about so by the time, like, I think it was like 8 months after our interview. So it was like 2.5 years after the whole thing that I put myself up on a dating site. And I was like, this is who I
Wait,
am.
with or without patch? With patch.
With Patch.
Okay.
This is who I am. My father, do this, that. Conversations happened, meetups happened, dates happened, and some of them were like horrible. Horrible. Like, I even got dated for food. I know she knows.
She went on a date basically for a meal.
For a meal, not to be with me. I paid. I was a gentleman. I paid. I did the things, and it was like, okay, you're not hearing anything. You're not trying to have a conversation with me. You don't care. You just want to eat.
She was hungry, bruh. She was hungry.
She ate, and then she went out with her friends that night. So, no, I've been in those things. I've had a couple of relationships after that. Like, there were moments where in those relationships and why they failed, I think there was parts of me that was overlooking what I believe in a woman, like for me, like in a partner for me. Like, and I'm not saying no, in a partner, I'll overlook certain things in a partner for me. And I overlooked them because I think I just wanted to have a connection with someone and to have companionship, and overlooked red flags and learned the hard way. And there are also relationships where I made the mistakes, and I think it was just because of a lack of understanding of who I am right now. And I acted in ways that are just not within my character and ways that I'm not proud of. And I also learned the hard way in those relationships. And it took some time and doing self-reflection and just getting to know myself a little bit more and healing from not only losing and mourning my wife, but I actually had to mourn those few relationships that I had, whether it was my fault or the other person's fault. I had to mourn those people. I had to learn how to mourn those relationships ending. I'm not saying that they're dead to me. They're still alive. They're great women. It's just that I had to learn that, like, okay, this is over. Cry about it. Talk about it. Move on. And somehow I've just met this wonderful woman. Saying met, just, it's been 9 months together so far. And it's been an amazing relationship. She's someone who understands me, someone who's very open, someone who is very patient and has a similar outlook on life and what it means to be a person, like a good person. And yeah, she hasn't met my daughter yet. So that's something that we're going to navigate. But yeah, I'm in a very happy space in terms of journalize and learning how to be a boyfriend. Because the last time I was a boyfriend, it was in the 2000s. You know,
Now we're in the 20 what?
in the 2020s. And
Hey.
yeah. So I'm learning how to be a boyfriend, and it's a beautiful journey.
I'm very happy for you. I think I just love how open you are about the fact that you also were accountable for some of the other relationships not working out, but it sounds like you're taking your time and also just being mindful of that transition for your daughter. And I really hope things work out. Are you ready to answer some viewers' questions?
Sure.
All right. So as we do, we always look through your comments that you put down below in the videos, and we bring them to our second chapter guest. Don't forget, it's still available to you. Put your questions in the comments down below, and we'll do our best to get the answers. So these are some of the ones that we received. This is some feedback that reads as follows. Before we dive further, and now this person actually is at Mixed Traveler 3585. This is what they commented. As a young man, I have tears in my eyes, sad to see this happen to a beautiful family. The pain and trauma this wonderful man must have endured is unbelievable. But I pray he will be stronger for his daughter and for his family, and her name and legacy will also be remembered. South Africa loves you and your family. The other comment is from Lindo Magubani 8815 that says, one day when you share the story with your daughter, I'm sure she will appreciate your strength and power. Thank you for sharing your story. Now a question from DJB169 says, where were the security guards? How did they not hear the gunshots that you went looking for them?
Yeah, the security guards were at the gate. And I'm like, I literally ran, walked, passed out, fell all over the parking lot trying to get to them, and there was no response from them. The first response that we got was from the ambulance, which my neighbor called. So, yeah, I mean, very much let down by the security.
Have you considered suing the security company or even the complex?
Yeah, so it's been a process. I've had to switch lawyers. I am in a civil suit with, I guess I can say it's ADT/Bidvest, but I understand it's a big company, and it's a hard thing to get done, especially if you don't have much money. But yeah, I'm looking for help in terms of suing them and getting them to account for what had happened, because when was it, in August, I got an SMS from the SAPS saying that the case is closed and followed every lead.
As in the case of your wife's murder is closed?
Closed on their side.
Not an arrest, nothing?
Nothing. So the only method of justice I can get is through a civil suit to the people that promised us that they were going to have the complex secured the whole time. They said 24 hours, there'd be a few minutes away for response. And to me, it's like, how do you promise that and then have an ambulance and the police arrive before you? And we know how the ambulance service and police service is in this country. They are inundated with calls all the time, right? So you do expect an ambulance to take 10 to 15 minutes, 20 minutes maybe, to get there. But for an armed response to not respond to the wires getting cut, the electric wires getting cut, to the, what do you call it, the sensors, the wall sensors being tripped. And then also the guard at the gate hearing the gunshots and then not coming down and sorting things out. All of that within that complex, why we live in complexes is for that reason, that like we have that kind of
And you
security.
pay additional for those services.
Exactly. And for them not to sort that out and not be there, not be present, and for the first response, not to be the security guard at the gate, but to be an ambulance, speaks a lot of words about how they conducted their service for us, the people that were paying them. So that's why that route is going on. But yeah, I mean, I'm open to anybody who can help on a legal point. Financially, I can't push as much as I can. Like, I have a firm that tried to do the thing for me pro bono. And then they started to ask for money, and I was like, this is what I can give. And then I gave, and then things are stalling right now just because I don't have the financial power that a company like Bidvest or ADT has.
That's a tough one, and we can only hope, cases do get closed, but they can be reopened if new evidence comes to light. So let's hope that the SAPS do their job. I doubt that the people that did what they did to you have not done it to somebody else. So let's hope that somewhere that the dots connect and you can get the justice that you and your wife and your families deserve. There is another comment that says from Lindani Gamini 2205, who says, until our health system understands the significance of the first 60 minutes of trauma cases, a lot of lives can be saved. What is your relationship with the healthcare system? I mean, we know what your relationship is with the SAPS at the moment, which many people have agreed that you've been failed, also by the private companies involved. But where are you now with the healthcare system, and how do you feel?
I think on the trauma side, in terms of like dealing with the physical trauma, there was a lot of mismanagement, a lot of time wasted in waiting for things to happen. I think the people that operated on me and actually on the night made sure that I was alive because I was bleeding out to death. I was told that I was resuscitated a couple of times because of like the bullet wounds to the head. And I understand that on the day they were just trying to keep me alive. But what they did was also just leave bad cuts within my eye. And the way they cut off the nerves inside my eye for my eyeballs to move, they kind of botched that. There was glass fragments, because I used to wear glasses, glass fragments and bullet fragments, and there was like a whole bunch of stuff that they just like, it was like a butcher shop, cut, stitch it up, move them, next person. And blame the doctors. I just understand that in that situation, they have so many trauma victims to deal with that it's like, let's save his life and we'll sort it out later. So I don't have a problem with that. The problem I have is with the afterwards, like to go and get surgery. So you'll get like an appointment in the government health system. This is your appointment. You go there, you spend like 8 hours, and it's like, come back in 3 weeks. And you go back, and then they're like, okay, now we found a date for you to have someone look at what they can do. Then you come back like 6 weeks later, and then it's like, oh, okay, cool. Then we'll do this, and that. We're booking you for surgery 3 months from now. At that time, you're still dealing with a whole bunch of stuff because of the eye. So my surgeries, I've had 3 surgeries. My surgeries were spaced out over 3 years, actually, from 2020 to 2023. But if I had like medical aid, it could have been done in like 1 session. But also, when I did research with medical aid, they said my co-payment would be 27,000.
And I think what you're sharing is just many people are going to be watching, having stories about waiting for appointments, and I feel for the doctors that work in this terribly broken system where there's backlogs, lack of resources, but I think what you have shared, even that 27,000 that you may have needed to make as a co-payment could have been some kind of payment arrangement over a period of time, but knowing that your physical healing journey starts altogether. And I'm wondering, from all of those injuries and the glass and bullet fragments being, in your eye socket, and surgeries taking place over 3 years, and having a gunshot to the head, have there been any other symptoms that have come up to maybe show that you're struggling with something else medically that they hadn't picked up before?
Yeah. So I have nerve damage to my tongue or esophagus. So it's still a thing where, like, even now I'm speaking to you, and even it's so weird when I was watching the interview back, my voice doesn't sound like what I remember because my voice has changed since the accident. And it's because of like certain nerve damage. My tongue moves differently. I can't move my tongue to the left. It literally just goes that way. I have nasal issues. Like, even just there's times when I struggle to sleep for a long period because I struggle to breathe when I sleep. And the ENT said I needed a rhinoplasty and a nasal scrape because I think I have a deviated septum, and then there's also like a whole bunch of damage underneath that's just calcified, and I need a whole bunch of surgeries just on the nasal space just to be able to breathe properly and to be able to sleep properly and not snore and chase my partner away from bed at night. But it's been those kind of things, and I've been going to a chiropractor. There's a lot of adjustments that I need to do with my neck because of the impact. So it's just it's things that I'm slowly getting to. But yeah, it's a journey. This healing is still a journey.
I'm so proud of you and how far you've come. I don't know many people who would have come out on the other side. You're still championing for your daughter. You were still looking for love. A life continued for you, and you're here to tell your story. You're here to continue unpacking and also just be real about the fact that, yes, you are on the other side, but it's an ongoing journey for anybody who's experienced this kind of trauma. Lwandi, thank you for coming back and talking to us. You've touched all of us with your story, and it gives us hope that really you can go through anything and survive. I wish you and your daughter all of the best, and I hope that you continue to heal.
Thank you so much, and thank you for giving us the space to just talk, and maybe our stories can help someone go through what they're going through and help them through that trauma, or know that they're not alone. Because I think I've also listening and watching other people on your show, I've learned so much about what I'm going through personally. So I'm very appreciative of the space that you've created.
Thank you, and thank you. Thank you so much for joining us on the second chapter. Make sure that you click that subscribe button and hit the notification bell so you can be the first to know when new episodes are out, as well as other content that we have. If you want to see somebody else on the show, comment down below. Who do you want us to follow up with? Who do you want us to talk to and say, hey, what's happened since that episode? Because, of course, this show is for you. Thank you so much again for joining us on second chapter. Make sure you join us the next time. And thank you for sharing your stories and continuing to unpack with us. Till next time. Bye.
Next time on Unpacked, the second chapter.
You were a young woman that many people didn't know. Now you are a reality star.
Oh my gosh, motherhood has been a dream. Like, that first year, that's so ghetto.
One of the things that played out in the show are the challenges with the father of your child.
I'm terrified. I am. People were like, why are you trying to monetize your depression? I'm not going to just be crying for free.
People needed to know who's choosing to get married at first sight in Mzansi.
Is there anybody that you would love to see on the second chapter? Maybe there's a question that you think I should have asked, or something that was burning after you watched and you wished you could have the guest back. Maybe you were confused, or maybe you felt like, there's definitely more to the story. Comment down below and let us know who you'd like to see, which story you'd like to revisit, which guest you'd like us to invite back for Unpacked, the second chapter.